One downstairs, one's upstairs. Okay, got it. Okay, as follows. We're learning about when you get hana from a malacha. The guy did a malacha for you. When you get hana, how long you have to wait to get hana. Now, there's an opinion on the book that's a Rabbeinu Tam. Now, I'm not quoted in Shin Chaf Hey Sif Yud that Hotzah, if a guy brought something to you through, let's say, a Rosh Hashanah, so you can get hana from it. If it's something that you could have gone there and gotten enough, I could have gone where the item was and get hana there. So if he brings it to me, I can also get hana here. That's the opinion of the Rabbeinu Tam. Rambam quotes in Shin Chafei Sif Yud, the halacha, the Mishnah Berurah writes in Sivkat Nun Vav, you can only rely on this either for a tzorach Shabbos or a tzorach Gadol, either that or that. But after Shabbos, though, you don't have to wait till Shiyas. Period. Next, the Ramah writes in Shin Zayin Sif Chaf Aleph that I can tell a goy to do a malacha for himself. Nothing to do with me. Hello, why don't you take your car and drive to the beach? I don't know, whatever he tells a guy to do. Why don't you cook yourself lunch today? There's nothing to do with me. I'm not going to tell the guy to do malacha for himself. However, I cannot give him the item and tell him to do it. It says over here in the Mechaber, in Shin Zayin Sif Chaf Aleph, I cannot tell a guy on Shabbos, here's a piece of meat, go take and cook it for yourself. That I can't do. Even though I don't have to support him, I'm not allowed to do, right? But if I just tell him to do something on his own, then I'm allowed to do. And the Mishnah Berurah writes here, you can't even do this on Friday. Here, take a meat and cook for yourself tomorrow on Shabbos. I'm not allowed to do that. Now, l'chara, the problem is the dibur there. I can't tell him, right? So l'chara, if he asks me for something, I can let him take it. The guy says, "Can I have a match?" The guy wants it, so I can let him. I'm not telling him. I'm not instigating. I just ask. So l'chara, I'm allowed to let him take it. Okay. Now, next, if a guy does a malacha for me, right, which I'm not directly nana from on Shabbos, so I don't have to say anything unless he does it on a repetitive basis. Mechaber writes over here in Shin Chaf Hey Sif Yud Gimel, if a guy picks things and feeds my animal on Shabbos, I don't have to start up right away. But if he does it on a consistent basis, he's rugel to do it, then I have to stop. Says the Mishnah Berurah over here in Ayin Aleph, right? Since I don't command him to do it, he does it on his own, right? And he does it on his own accord, nothing to do with me, right? Maybe he thinks, because he wants me to pay him after the right, but whatever the story is, he does it on his own. Therefore, you don't have to start up, right? The same way you don't have to start up, he comes and puts out a fire, right? But he writes, I can't take what he picks and me feed the animal. That I can't do, correct? Period. And likewise, if the guy picked it, I can't tell him, or you picked it, feed the animal. Then he writes, though, but if the guy does it constantly, the Mishnah Berurah says, then I'm afraid of a trickery, then you have to stop if he does it. Period. Now, there are a lot of people who rely on things that goyim do for all kinds of things they're not allowed to do, right? So obviously you shouldn't do it. As far as telling them, so you should only tell them if the chance that they might listen. If they might listen, then you should tell them. You have to look and see when Tov Reish Ches in Tzilchas Yom Kippur, the halacha is there about when you're supposed to tell people, when you shouldn't tell them. So if you know he's not going to listen over here, don't tell him. The principle, the Gemara Beitz, the Mudu B'Shogin V'Ayim B'Zina place. Better to do B'Shogin, you're not amazing. Now, we said this once. Anything that there's a machlokus about, right? Anything there's a machlokus about, even though we're machmir, but if there's a sheet that's mekel, so if somebody did it, you can be nana. So, for example, somebody relies on the Baal Eater, any tzorch mitzvah. Amir al-Akiv is mutter, and I'm in his house, so the person did, I can be nana from. Period. That's the end of that. Now, I just want to discuss a couple of points. One, it was raised here last week. if the goy turns off the light on Shabbos, right? Somebody asked that last week. The goy turns off the light. What is the halacha? So it's follows. If you look in the Shmir Shabbos Kilchosa, the new volume, the brand new, the newest edition, in Perek Lamed Halacha Hey, he writes as follows over here. He says here, remember, you can't give a guy a hint on Shabbos. You can just tell him, though, the situation, right? We call it indirect hint, and if he does it, fine. So it says over here, you can tell to a guy, it's hard for me to sleep in this room because there's a lights on, right? So, and then if he understands, he turns it off, then it's okay. That's okay. Then he writes in the footnote that this is not like the guy puts on the light, but over here in footnote Yudalid, because here he says you can sleep with the light on still. That's what he says. The same way, things you could do easily. If there's a little light, right, and the guy turns on the light, I can use it because I could have done it without his additional light. Here too as well, I could sleep with the light on. It's just easier with the light off. That is the reason that he gives over here why it is permissible. That is the Shmir Shabbos in the new volume, right? One moment here. It says over here in Shin Lamed Daled, Shulchan Aruch, Sif Chafei, a guy comes to put out a fire on his own, you have to stop it, right? Right? So Mishnah Brewer writes over here, because the guy is doing it on his own, and even though he knows that it's something the Jew will would want, right? He's doing it on his own, because he knows the Jew will, reward him after Shabbos, correct? But it's not like the goy lights a candle from me, because there I get hana from it, right? But over here, I'm not getting positive hana here from it. That's what he writes over here. Correct? So there, when he puts on the light, we don't say he's doing it on his own. Now, there's another point over here. So far, the major point was that, you can sleep with that, right? That's the main thing, and that's why it's fine. Now, the Piskei Tshuva writes as follows. Here's a different Svara why it's mutter. I'm going to indicate it to you last time. Find it here. Here it is. He writes over here. Where am I? It says over here, he's quoting the if a guy puts a line on for a Jew, right? So nobody can get hand off from it. Right? It says in Reish Ayin Vav, Sifal, right? So it says here, he quotes, Kvar Kosvu Kama Gedoli Achronim. This is only when you get hana directly from the malacha, like you turn on the light. But malacha, which only removes something that annoys you, and the hana is something else that the malacha wasn't done, then you don't have to stop the goy if he does it for the Jew, and the Jew can get hana, correct? And not only this, but sometimes you can hint directly, indirectly, to go to do it. That's what he writes over here. Because the only time that it goes on the hana, it comes to direct hana. Okay, that's what he writes over here. He has a svara. Then he writes over here, the most common example of this is putting out the light that is preventing somebody to sleep, or there's some other electrical appliance on that's annoying you, right? That's what he writes. He writes in a footnote here. He writes, this is footnote 22. Lamaisa, don't too quickly, ain't lemaher to rely based on this svara alone. As a number of Gedolia poskim we find don't like this, and he quotes Reb Kiva Eger about it. Okay, so I'm just telling you, there's a svara. There are two svaras why The guy puts out the light, you get hana. It's not a direct hana, just a star samoneh, and you really can sleep without it. Just easier to sleep now. Okay, that is regarding that. Now, I was also asked last week, I think one of you asked me, we were talking about opening a refrigerator with a guy. What about asking a child? Right? Somebody asked me that. Having a child open the refrigerator? Yes, no? So as follows. By the way, these Piskei Teshuvos I'm quoting now are from the new. He put out new, where the Shabbos is in 2 volumes. So he writes over here, this is in Shin Mem Gimel Os Dalet. He writes over here as follows. For doing a malacha through a child, right? Something that you can't do because of a psik ratio. And he says, it's osur, unless the child is totally oblivious to the fact that a malacha is going to happen. The child doesn't realize malacha is going to happen, then he's like, musasek, then it's okay. But otherwise, not. But then he writes over here, in the footnote 65, let's say he told a little kid to open the refrigerator, and then he says, oh, the light goes on, so you can't ask him now to close it because he knows the light's going to go off. But the first time it was okay. That's what he writes over here. Now, there's one more thing involved over here. There is a Rav Shulchan Aruch, the Balatani, the Shulchan Aruch Rav. He writes here in Shin Mem Gimel Sivches at the end. He writes, any Isur Drabanan that you can do through a goy for a mitzvah, right? You cannot do through a child because you're afraid he's going to do it when he gets older, unless it just happens once. It's a one-time thing. So then he won't get used to it. That's what he writes. So he says a one-time thing you can do it, and this is quoted in the Shmirah Shabbos Kilchasa in Perek Yud Halacha Yud Dalet. He writes it over here. And a one-time thing, whatever, you can have a kid do something. There's something, the books are there. Okay. Period. Next. That was Rabbi, the end of the last week. Okay?
Rabbi, would a nafkamina between the first answer and the second answer be like a charish or shukah?
Wait, somebody who has no idea? Wait.
Because a katan's going to become a gadol. A charish and shota, mistama are going to stay that way for the rest of their lives. So,
listen, you want to know all these halachas that he might do it when he gets older, like the Gemara and Eruvin that talks about why don't you have kiddush on Yom Kippur? Let it cut and drink. Because when he gets older, he'll drink. I'm not sure you can do that. I'm not sure. I'm not aware. Okay, you hope that these people will get better. I don't know. I'm going to say something. You with me? I know what you call a shota. Okay, you with me? A shota in halacha doesn't mean somebody who's mentally limited. He's whatever. A special child. It means usually a shota in halacha means somebody who's crazy. Now it could be somebody who's mentally underdeveloped has the same halacha, correct? But it depends what level he is. Also, you understand?
Don't we like consider a mentally limited capacity? Don't we consider them a charish?
It depends what level. It depends what level. You understand? Some of them can make brachas and things. It depends.
For those levels, would we be able to say that that's a nafkamina?
Don't know. I really don't know. Okay, it's a fair question. I don't know. Okay. Next. Give me 1 second here. The following halacha shows up. Let's say a guy did something for you, and you don't know whether he did it on Shabbos or not. That's the question. So this comes up in Shin Chapei Seif Zayin. Comes up over here as follows. The guy brings you something, some produce, correct? And you don't know whether it was picked for a Jew or a Goy, or you don't know whether it was picked on Friday or on Shabbos. Correct? The reason why it's a suffix, right? So he says that you can't eat it on Shabbos, and after Shabbos, there's an argument here in Shulchan Aruch 2 days whether you have to wait b'chdei sheyasu. That's what he writes. That's what he writes. So he writes on Shabbos you can't eat it because it's an issue of muksa. It's picked on Shabbos, problem of muksa, and in muksa you have to be machmer in a suffix, whatever that reason. But over here, the problem is nana from what a guy did. What do you do in a suffix? Right? That's the question. 2 days in Shulchan Aruch, and Ladina, right? The Eliyahu Rabbah says you can be maker, and the Chai Adam says no, you can only be maker for a mitzvah, for a tzorach mitzvah, and that's the indication of the Magen Avraham as well. And you shouldn't rely on it. Whatever. Period. It says Beis Yosef says that. Okay. So it comes out on the Maisa. If you don't know the goy did this for you on Shabbos or not, it's a machlokas here, and you can be makel the tzorach mitzvah. And otherwise, it's a problem, argument. Period. Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa writes in Perek Lamed Aleph Halacha Chaf Gimel the following halacha. Following 2 halachas. 1, writes over here as follows. You got a package in the mail, chutzos, right? The mail service is goyim, right? And it showed up on Shabbos. And it wasn't that it was sent special delivery. They have to bring it on Shabbos, right? You can get hanoah from what was brought, even on Shabbos, even if it came out of the tchum, or it was brought with a place where there's no error. That's it. Why? Now this is based on a halacha in Hilchos Yantiv. This is a halacha in Hilchos Yantiv. It says in Tov Kuf Tes Vav. 1 second here, let me find it. There's the following halacha in Shulchan Aruch. 1 second. Here we are. Shulchan Aruch writes in Sif Tes, a Jew that sent the package to his friend through a goy, right? And it got delayed, and the goy brought it on Yantav. What's the given day? She brought it on Yantav, right? It's mutter even for the person who was brought for, right? The only thing is, right, it's the tchum, you can't take it out of 4 amos. Out of 4 amos means in a place where there is no Erev. It's in a building, you can take it 4 amos, or if the whole city has an Erev, you can take it in the whole city. Fine. If you're out there in the field, then you can't take it more because it came out of the tchum. Fine. If besides getting hanoah, there's no problem. Says the Mishnah Berurah over here, why? Why can you get hanoah? Because this guy has nothing to do with me. I'm the one who sent them. The guy who sent it to me is the one who sent it, right? So not like he's going to do something for me next week. There's no possibility. I have nothing to do with him. It's the guy who sent him, right? I have nothing to do with him. I have no right. He just do the original one, and therefore I'm allowed to get hanoah. Period. He says unless the guy who sent it knew that it would only get to me on Yantiv, then I can't be net after Yantiv. That's what he writes here. He said. Next halach over here. In here, a Jew has a what's it called? The minui subscription to a daily newspaper. Subscription, or what it's called. They bring you the paper to your house every day.
Yeah.
And the paper is printed on Shabbos. So he writes here, most of the people who read this newspaper are Jews. You can't read the paper on Shabbos. You have to wait after Shabbos, and most of the people who read the paper are Goyim. Then you're allowed to read the news, but not the business things, right? Period. Then he writes, this is an age-old problem. You're allowed to read a paper on Shabbos or not. So right, every Rosh Hashanah should read the paper on Shabbos because, you might start reading the things you're not supposed to. Mishnah Berurah talks about this. Where does Mishnah Berurah talk about this? In Shin Zayin. like 2 lines. As far as reading it Saiton and Shabbos, even though Shus Yaakov is a Mekel, a lot of Achronim also because they have all kinds of business things. Yeah, when the Shir Shabbos quotes, it says, I think that can depress you, and there could be all kinds of things you shouldn't read even the weekday, whatever. Reading not in reading the Chavis Chaim's other Sfarim, it tells you should never read newspapers, it's all Lashon Hara and Machilos, whatever. Anyway, so it says over here, if the paper is printed on Shabbos, and most of the people who read it are Goyim, you're allowed to read it, right? Except the business things. But Yerei Shamayim should read it on Shabbos. Then he says, if you have a subscription, you should tell the guy that when he orders the paper, he just shouldn't bring it on Shabbos. If the guy brings it anyway, it's not his problem. Then he writes, if the guy brought the Jew the paper in a place where there's no Eruv, right? Correct? So then you can't read the paper on Shabbos. But after Shabbos, you can read it right away. That's what we learned, even though because I could have gone somewhere else to read it. So even though we don't rely on that Rabbeinu Tam or Meko right after Shabbos, you don't have to read B'chtei Shiyas. So again, if there's no Eruv, then I should read it after Shabbos. Says the footnote over here. He says over here, let's assume in my building there is a guy who also has ordered the paper as order. I'm in an apartment building. So he carried it into the building, right? The place there's no Eruv, because the guy also. So in my paper, just Marbishu is adding on another thing. So here, B'diavad, I'm allowed to read it. He quotes the Machane Yisrael. Anybody know what Machane Yisrael is, that book? Machane Yisrael? It's a book written by the Chavis Chaim for soldiers, a handbook for halacha for soldiers in the Russian army. And how to keep Shabbos, not just Shabbos, all kinds of mitzvahs when you're in the army. Okay? So the bottom line is that first you have to figure out who the paper is printed for. Then if the paper is printed mostly for Goyim, then you can read it. If it's brought, we should read the business thing. Fine. And then he didn't have to read it all. And then it was brought through a place where there is no Eruv, then he says you shouldn't read it, right? Unless in your building is a guy, then you can read it anyway, okay? Period. But if the whole problem is the Otzar, then you can read it after Shabbos, that way, B'chtei Shiyas. Fine, period. I once heard from Soloveitchik the following thing. I'm just telling you what I heard. You can give your own parsha that he doesn't read the paper on Shabbos. I'm not sure where he sees the paper. I don't read the paper on Shabbos. But sometimes when there's news from Eretz Yisrael, I can't hold myself back and I read it. I guess he felt there was some reason. Okay, this is the end of the topic of Amir al-Akbar. Okay, next topic is as follows. I wanted to discuss.
Rabbi, about Amir al-Akbar.
Yes.
In let's say if someone's in a cabin or whatever it is and has a fire already go. Someone's in a cabin and already. Someone is in a cabin and has a fire going, and then can he invite a non-Jew to come there and add wood on Shabbos? So he also has enough from the fire.
1 second. A fire means what? What do you mean a fire?
Like wooden fire.
No, a fire meaning that the place might burn down.
No. It's a little stove to keep the room warm.
Wait. So what's the case?
Reuven started a fire Erev Shabbos to keep the room warm, right? In a safe low stove, and then he asked Paul to come Friday night so he doesn't freeze. So he asked Paul to come and add wood to keep it warm. But he invites Paul, so Paul also would have hana from the fire that he is adding heat to. Is that allowed?
If it's cold in their children, you're allowed to have a guy, start a fire. If it's very cold, right, very cold, then you can do it because we learned that people are sick. If it's too cold, you can get sick. So it depends how cold it is. You understand? It's a little chilly, a little no rough. But if it's very cold, then Amir Lakim is mutter because it comes under Hakoch Cholim Eitzel by the court. Okay? You want it? Okay? Look, your question more was that it's not that cold. And you're inviting the guy, so the guy will do it for himself, right? Correct? Because you invite him there, kilo, that he should keep warm, right? Okay. And then the
Correct.
guy on his own is going to add wood. But he's not going to add more for you, right? We add more for you.
I mean, he's only coming for us, for the Jew, for Reuben, for
Wait,
example.
he knows he's coming for us?
He's coming for Reuben, right? Because he has his own cabin that you can stay warm in.
Okay. No. So then what I told you now is correct. Depends how cold it is, okay? So if it's a little cold, right, then it depends if you have children. If it's very cold, then you can do it for anybody, okay? Period. Okay. One moment. Where am I? No. Okay. We'd already learned that schita is a tolda. It can be a tolda either of dosh or malabit. If you're squeezing out fruit, it comes under dosh threshing. It's a tolda of that. And if you're squeezing out a wet garment, then it comes under malabit and you're cleaning it. Correct? That's what we learned. So right now, let's just deal with the dosh. So let's go back to the Av Malach. Forget about schita. What's the Av Malach? The dosh is threshing. So what's the definition of threshing? So the Chai Adam writes in Klal Yud Dalet Halacha Aleph. That is when you take the ochel out of its chibur, where it's connected. The ochel is in something and it's connected, and you break apart the chibur. Right? The kernel of wheat is inside the whatever it is, inside the shell there, and you break it apart. That's what it says. Now, let me explain to you. When in borer, the ochel and psolas are mixed, they're not necessarily attached. Correct? So the point there is you're separating the ochel and the psolas. In disha, when you're done threshing, you don't have to be that the ochel and psolas is separated, right? The point is they're not attached anymore. That's the point. And as you break apart the chibur, the Rabbeinu Hananel writes in Shabbos in Ayin Dalet Amud Aleph, disha, threshing, is the hachana for borer. Because first you thresh and you break apart the chibur, and then you do borer to separate. Now, in the classical case, the ochel is inside of the psolas. What about if it's the other way around? The psolas is inside, or it's on the side, and you break it apart. So this is a machlokas. The Pri Megadim writes in Shin Lamed Vav, in the Mishpat Zav Osches, there's no disha. It has to be inside. While the Eglei Tal and Dasha Sifbei says there is disha. Now, the question is as follows. We learned about, let's say, peeling oranges on Shabbos, and we learned borer, right? So what did we learn? Besides the borer, it has to be before you want to eat the meal. Correct? Correct. So the question is, forget about borer. Why isn't this all of this disha, right? Why isn't, when the same way you break apart the chibur from the kernel of the wheat in the wheat? Why isn't peeling orange a problem of disha? Or you take grapes, you pull them off the cluster, it should be the same thing. I mean, oranges are more because there it's on the outside. So here there are a couple of approaches. The Kalkelis, okay, the one who collects a good part of this, not all of it, is in Shmir Shabbos and Per Gimel, footnote Tzadi Beis. Because the Kalkelis Shabbos, that's the Akdamat first to Shabbos, who says dish is only when you do a lot together. If you do one by want and eat, do want and eat, do want and eat it, then it's derech achila, then it's mutter. That's what he writes. You do want to eat it, you want to eat it, then it's mutter. You have dish is only when you do a lot together, right? Then Shmir Shabbos is could be Mishnah. It doesn't like this. That is Mahalach number 1. Then you have the Iglei Tal. This is also found in Igros Moshe, in Orach Chaim Chelik Aleph, Orach Chaim Chelik Aleph, Siman Kuf Kafei. Dish is what you do before you bring it to the house, right? Not what you do in the house. What's done out there is Disha. What's done in the house is not Disha. Okay? Period. Then there's the whole piece there in the Shmir Shabbos about what about something that's normally done in the house, and he does it in the field, right? Now what? Okay? The Shmir Shabbos says it's mutter, it's normally done in the house, and the Marshag doesn't like it. Okay, period. Now, you also have a third possibility, which is similar to the first, but not exactly. This is quoted in the Eglei Tal, this parish on the side, in Os Gimels of Cotton Bays. First one was what? 1 by 1. Now he says, it doesn't have to be done 1 by 1, but is it done before you eat or not? Something that's done right before you eat. If you do 5 of them, then it's okay, right? But if you do it way some other time, then it's not okay. Fine. Has to be something that's normally done before you eat, like before the meal, right before the meal, and it's normally done that when you do it. Then it's mutter. Could be a bear halach and shinchaf Sifei doesn't like this. Okay, those are the differences according to Shmir Shabbos. Now, Rabbi Ribiad has another mahalach over here. This is in the second volume. Where are we here? On page. Where am I here? Page 321. Some commentaries explain that dash only applies to thick peels and shells that are not closely attached to the fruit. Thick peels and shells not closely attached to the fruit, such as the thick, pulpy hull that goes over the shell of a walnut. The dash does not apply to peels that adhere closely and directly to the edible fruit. These commentaries explain that closely attached peels are considered only secondary to the fruit and thus are classified as part of the fruit, not merely a non-food attachment. Here, therefore, removing the peel is only is like cutting off a part of the fruit itself, which has nothing to do with it. This principle serves to explain why peeling an orange or banana and most other fruits is not dash, but they're closely attached. That's what it says over here. Now, this is from, look at the footnotes here, it's from the Kiv Eger and the Prima God. That's where this comes from. He continues over here. However, this leaves still some halachic questions unresolved. Peeling garlic. According to this view, any fruit or vegetable with 2 peels should be subject to dash on the outer peel, since the outer peel is not connected directly to the fruit itself. It would therefore be questionable whether one may remove the outer peel of a garlic because it's not connected to the fruit itself, only to peels of the cloves. Then he says, next problem would be peanuts. It would also be questionable, according to this view, whether one may shell peanuts on Shabbos. The peanuts, unlike ordinary nuts, is not really attached to the shell, but merely contained loosely therein. Okay? Then you have the other reasons, okay? Fine. The truth really is that where is this? Rabbi Eider on page 95 claims the following things are also because of dash. Husking corn. You have the corn on the cob and you take it off, he holds it's also. Correct? Right, so husking corn is prohibited. Husk removed from the corn before Shabbos. Eating the corn from the cob is permissible. Removing kernels of corn from the cob for immediate use is permissible according to some poskim. I can forget about this. That's permissible. If you want to take it off with a kli and eat the corn, then you can use a kli miyuchad lakach. And then he also holds the there's a problem there for also priests. One thing is husking the corn, and one is he quotes an opinion that the outer shell of the garlic might also be. Really quotes his opinion. Okay, so it comes out. You think about
Rabbi, what about pomegranates? What about pomegranates? Because pomegranates are also like peanuts, are the seeds inside.
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, I hear. Everybody does it. I think people also shell peanuts on Shabbos. I assume they rely on one of the other explanations, done right before you eat, right? That's true. I never thought about that. The truth is, you think that when you peel an orange, just think about borer, right? But if you think in theoretical halachic terms, theoretically, it's a disha problem more than a borer problem. But the Maisa, if you have all these answers, peeling orange dish we dealt with, all this stuff is the borer problem, and that you have to do it right before the meal. Okay. Period. Now, what are the toldas of Dosh? So the first tolda of Dosh is Rambam writes in Hilchos Shabbos Pereches Halacha Zayin Mefarek. Mefarek is a tolda of the Dosh. And you might ask, what is Mefarek? So the Rav Shulchan Aruch in Shin Yud Test, Sif Test, says Disha, threshing is done with a kli. Mefarek is done with your hand. So when you take the kernel, whatever, and you do it with your hand, then it's mefarek, it's a total ablachas with a kli. Now, that's one thing. Gemara says in Shabbos on Tzadi Hamid Aleph, you milk a cow, you're chayiv because of mefarek. Now, we might learn this, if we get up to it, depending on when, whatever, this month's over. Rashi writes, what's the malacha? Dush. The malacha is dush here, milking a cow. Period. Now, when you wound somebody on Shabbos, right? Chabala is also also on Shabbos. Why? This is a machlokas. The Rambam writes over there. It's also mefarek. Mefarek the blood from the body. Correct. It's provided obviously. To derice, you have to be a vampire to use the blood. Or if it's an animal, to use the blood for something. Now, the Ber Halacha quotes this in Shinte Zayin Sivches Dibra Maska Vacholo, but he says most Rishonim argue, and they say when you wound somebody, it's a told of killing of the tilas neshama shochet. So 2 days, what the malacha is when you wound somebody, is it because of dash, or is it because of the tilas neshama? One be, what if you take blood out of a dead animal, right? According to the Rambam, it's a problem, but as far as killing it, it's dead already. Also, may not get into the shear. The shear for dash is kagrogeris, and tilas neshama is no shear. It might be. Okay. Now, so we told us of dash mefarek with your hand, milking a cow, and koranam chum. Now, the next thing, which is a more art-specific topic, is squeezing fruits and vegetables. Now, you squeeze grapes or olives in Shin Chav Sif Aleph, that is dioraisa. Look at this, Shin Chav Sif Aleph and Mishkabura Aleph. Squeezing grapes and olives is a dioraisa. Now, the Eglei Tal says as follows. If I use a wine press, I squeeze the grapes and olives with a kli, that's a tolda of dush. And if I squeeze them with my hands, then it comes under mefarek. Now, there's a Tosfos Rid in Shabbos and Kuf Mem Dalet Amud Aleph who says, 1 minute, mefarek is a tolda of dush with your hand. And if you squeeze the grape and olives, you are, now, mefarek is tolda of dush with the kernel of the grain. You squeeze the grape and olive with your hand, right? Shechai because of Mefarik. So the Tosafot says you can have a tolda to a tolda. Because you understand, is a tolda essentially is a tolda to a tolda. Because the tolda of Dush is Mefarik. And under that, with your hand, right, comes this. There's just two things away a little bit from the Av in a certain way. It's not the ochel from solus, it's liquid from solids, and it's also with your hand. And I just want to point out one last thing. If you remember way back in Elul, we learned that there's a big machlokas. When you learn out the malachas of Shabbos from the Mishkan, Rashi says you learn out from the building of the Mishkan. However, there's a Rav Haigon, Rabbeinu Hanan, who say you learn out even from the running of the Mishkan, right? So the Eglei Tal points out as follows. That according to Rishonim, we learn out from the actual running of the Mishkan. So when you make wine or olive oil on Shabbos with a kli, right, with a dricha, that's an av. It's not a tolda. That was done in the Mishkan as well. If you learn from the building of the Mishkan, squeezing fruits and vegetables nothing to do with the building of the Mishkan. But if you learn it from the running of the Mishkan, so they needed the oil for the menachos and needed the wine for the nesa. Okay, that's all the background. Now, tachlis. Over here, the only time schita is doraisa is by zaysim va'anov. Why? So Rashi writes in Shabbos on Kuf Mem Hey Omer Aleph, Dibra Maskal Devar Torah, all other fruits, it's not the derech to squeeze them. Only grapes and olives is the derech to squeeze them. That is what Rashi writes. The Ran writes, this is on Samach Aleph Omer Aleph and Dapei Orif, Dibra Maskal Kvushim, writes, only Zaysim and Anovim are mashke. Only Zaysim and Anovim are mashke. Now there's a machlokas achronim, whether they're saying the same thing or not. The Eglei Tal in Dush says there's no machlokas, and the reason that only wine and olive oil are liquids is because that's the derech to squeeze. As one causes the other. Whether it's a derech to squeeze, whether it's a liquid. However, the Pri Megadim in Shin Chav at the beginning has a totally different approach. He says the Ran is saying something totally different. It has to be a halachic mashka. What's a halachic mashka? If you want to know what a halachic mashka is, where do you learn? Look at what Masechta? Machshirin. What's machshir l'kabel? Tumah, correct? The Zayin mashka is machshir l'kabel tumah, right? Yain, that's what we're talking about, right? And then there's dvash devorim, bees, honey made by bees, oil, chalav, milk, tal, dew, dam, blood, mayim. You're talking about fruits and vegetables. The only thing there are yayin and shemen, right? So it has to be a halachic mashke in order to what be mafar. I just want to add one last point here. The tolda is the same purpose but a different act than the av. The av of Dush is being mefarik, break apart the ochel from the psolos. The ochel of psolos, or the ochel is inside the psolos and attached, and you break it apart. The tolda is being mefarik, the mashke from the ochel, right? It's not ochel psolos, it's mashke from ochel, correct? You break it apart. It's a chibur inside, correct? So here too, it's a chibur inside here, but it's not ochel psolos, it's mashke and ochel. That it is. So the question is, why only grapes and olives? Is it chayu or the Ran? The people who say the Ran has to be halachic mashke. It's the same thing that you milk a cow, right? You milk a cow, so you point out the milk from the udder, right? It's also mifar. It's like the ochel from the mashke from the ochel. So, Bli Neder will continue next week.